I think that the problem with the Nordics right now is that Sweden is almost fully dominated by local investors. A lot of IPOs, easy access to financing, and also the bond market where the Swedish real estate companies can get access to basically unsecured bonds 3, 5, 7 years. So there's a lot of liquidity there, meaning that the international investors are more focusing now on the remaining countries in the Nordic region, meaning Denmark, Norway and Finland, and they are fairly small countries. So even though some of us try to say something different, size does matter, and it is a problem for an international investor to move into Denmark and Norway, Finland, with the different, you could say, connection they have to the EU. It is small markets, and I totally agree on the Finnish market. Very interesting margins there, or yields, but reality is it is a liquidity, lack of liquidity that drive those yields up. So if you're there on a longer term, it is very interesting, but it's not that liquid that we have seen and transparent as we have seen, for example, the Swedish market. And I think that some of the larger international investors will have difficulties to get access to the assets in Sweden. I think the local investors will go after that. It will be difficult for an international investor to start on the secondary market, also based on the fact that the Nordics would be considered as a secondary market already. So to move our secondary markets in the Nordics will be difficult for some of the larger international investors.
I mean, I totally agree. I mean, competition about the assets in Sweden especially is very high. The same counts on the financing side, as Patrik was already pointing out. What we are seeing is margins going down, prices going up, LTVs also slightly, gradually going up. Hopefully we will not be ending up in the levels we have seen before the crisis. But I think there's already, let's say, when it comes to the prices and the yields, we are more or less in 2006 and 2007.
I agree in the sense that if you look upon the CBD properties, or office properties within Stockholm CBD or Gothenburg CBD, that is very difficult for international investors to get. In order to invest there, you need to get down on a lower yield really than what the market yield is at the moment. So I agree there. But on retail and logistics, historically, international investors have been really, really strong, and they still are. There's a big demand for that. And that goes both for the prime assets and for the more secondary ones. Looking upon the portfolio opportunities, I totally agree that you need to have local knowledge when you buy those kind of assets. But many of the internationals have been in Sweden now for 10 to 12 to 14 years, so they know really what to get. So many already have departments within Sweden, or they have really strong relationships with local partners. So the knowledge is really there. And the banks, I mean, it doesn't really matter if it's German banks or Swedish banks, but they enjoy working with international investors. They know them really well. And we see a big inflow today of especially Anglo-Saxon money. I mean, as exactly as Thomas, we were part of the Starwood deal, which was a fantastic deal for us. But there are more to come now. And that it is a retail deal, that all makes sense. But the international ones can do other kind of opportunities now as well. So on a small part of the market, it's very difficult. But otherwise, there's a huge interest right now. If you look upon the Asian investors, of course, it's not as it is in London, but we see some inflow there as well. So we've been in a helicopter showing some Japanese investors Stockholm. I didn't fly myself; I'm a bit afraid of that. But but there is an interest coming from there as well. But the inflow from that kind of capital is not at all as big as the Anglo-Saxon one. So we see a lot of both UK money, but also Canadian. Canadian bought, for example, half of Kista Galleria, which is a big shopping center last year, and also US money.